Good evening, everyone, and welcome to
Why So Works.
I'm here with Kendall Bird, our Vice President of Brand. My name's Greg Halliday. It's good to be with you on this live stream. We've got an important message, but before we get into it, it is the 13th anniversary month for Solle. All the month of June, Kendall, it's been 13 years. So tell me, anything stick out over these past 13 years from your experience here? Anything that to you is sort of like encapsulates Solle Naturals?
Oh, I don't know. It's just, it boggles my mind, really, to think 13 years that we've been doing this. It doesn't feel like that long in some ways, but in other ways, I think back to our 5th year anniversary when we went on the cruise, and
that felt like
a
milestone.
Yeah.
But you know why it doesn't feel long to you? Because you still have your hair. There is a difference between the two of us.
Yeah, but my beard's gone gray since we started. I didn't have
I'll
a gray
take it.
beard.
I'll take that. Well, hello everybody. We're looking here at the chat board, and I love it when you chat in. If you are just joining us on the live stream and you haven't chatted in, find your chatter. We love it. Say hello. I would say half. I was hoping Kendall would say this because I know he feels this way, but I'm just going to say it. I think the most compelling part about Solle Naturals in 13 years is the Solle community. Yes, we are going to talk about our products and our nutrition and the uniqueness of our innovations with adaptogens, but they are something that is used to help others by the Solle community. And the Solle community is kind of where we find, I think, all the joy in this, and we find the satisfaction in being able to make a difference. So I'm seeing a few people chatting in here. Looks like, yeah, we got Lori chatting in from Hemet, California. Ooh, yeah, I'm guessing that's pretty
Chris Hedrick, you might need to adjust your screen. You're looking at the wrong thing, I think, if you saying two handsome dudes.
Well, I think she put distinguished gentleman. If you took that as handsome, Kendall, I think there's a lesson in that. I'm not saying. Oh, that she wrote twice.
Yeah.
Chris wrote twice.
Oh,
okay. Well,
she's definitely looking at the wrong screen.
We're not going to mess with you too much, but chat in if you get a chance, because we're going to come back to that. There's some opportunity for some more 13th anniversary fun, and you'll want to know how to chat in so you can take advantage of that and enjoy that together with us. I'm happy to be here with you. And I think I'm going to jump into tonight's topic. But Kendall, before I get into the presentation, let's just pull up our first slide. And I'm going to let Kendall sort of take us through this first slide and set this up for us, Kendall. What we got going on here with this slide?
It's asking a very important question. It's kind of the question we ask every time we do this show, and we break it down into pieces. But we're asking really specifically, why does Solle work? And one of the big reasons, and for 13 years we've seen it over and over and over again, that a big piece of that puzzle is adaptogens. Absolutely.
It's a question I think we get from the beginning, and we still get. It's a natural question as people are exposed to Solle Naturals. What makes Solle different? Why do those products work? I can tell you, we've heard so many times throughout the years, wow, we get great results. And I'm hearing great things from people who will get on a nutrition program, meaning they don't just sort of take it once or twice, but they'll actually make a change in their nutrition with products. And that's a common question. Why do they work so well? As Kendall mentioned, adaptogens are a big part of that puzzle.
But you're also not saying adaptogens are the whole puzzle either.
No, they absolutely are not. They're a big piece, and they're not the only big piece. We're going to focus on them tonight. And then as we wrap up, we'll mention the other big piece, because I think both parts are very, very important and can make all the difference, which is why we hope that tonight's presentation, it will be recorded. This is something that can be easy, hopefully, for you to grab the link and share it with someone who you think needs to hear this. This is something, obviously, we feel that everyone can use in their lives. So let's jump into why Solle works and why adaptogens. This is my first shout out of the evening. The information I will be sharing tonight comes largely, in fact, I would say about 95% of it, from some amazing trainings by the one and only Dr. Allison Caldwell Andrews, who is our chief scientific advisor. She has a wonderful gift. She did her postdoc at Yale. You can see a little bit about her credentials, but if you get to know her, she is so down to earth. She's a wonderful teacher and an excellent researcher and trainer. And so this comes from things that she has given to us. So let's jump in. Why adaptogens? Why are they so central at Solle Naturals? Well, for starters, adaptogens are actually designed for stress resilience. What is stress resilience and what do we mean by that? Well, stress resilience has to do with the power of balance in health. It has to do with metabolic strength or the production of energy. Nothing happens in our body. Nothing can happen emotionally and mentally either without significant energy being produced by our bodies. Adaptogens are right in the middle of that aspect of health. Third, immunity. And I've put here in parentheses, protection. It's not just immunity in the sense of keeping us from maybe getting overwhelmed by pathogens, say by a virus or by bacteria or whatever it may be that we sort of traditionally think of getting a cold or getting an illness. But think of immunity as the body protecting and preserving its strength so that we have longevity in life. Adaptogens are key contributors to our body's efforts in that area. And then the fourth point of this slide, adaptogens are the types of plants that can be used every day with confidence. That is a key point and one of the reasons why they are so prevalent in the Solle formulas. So just a little flashback, we talked about our 13th anniversary. Solle Naturals has been leading the way in adaptogen research, formulation, and usage for 13 years now, even though our journey began prior to our founding. The formal and the official launch of Solle's adaptogenic formulas and our Solle community was in 2012. And here's a little picture. This wasn't in 2012, but it was just a few years into it. Here we're pictured with one of our great Solle leaders, Rachel Bragg, who she's standing in the middle here. And by the way, I love this picture that Kendall found because you can kind of see the group of founders here and the desire that we've always had to be partnered with so many wonderful independent brand specialists, as we call them, who help make the difference and bring these adaptogens and mentor their use in other people's lives. It's that partnership that gives Solle the power to make a difference. So we do say with a high degree of confidence now after 13 years that Solle is the leader in adaptogenic wellness and in innovation in this area. Adaptogens have been known for many years. They're just not widely known, but they have been known for many, many years. Adaptogenic wellness has not been widely studied or practiced prior to Solle Naturals. So why do we center on them? Why center on adaptogens? Well, I mentioned a little bit of this before, but we'll say it again here. Adaptogens build stress resilience. That stress resilience leverages our innate mind and body power in the body for restoring wellness. That is that when our physical processes and our mental wellness are in balance and strong, our body is quite amazing at adjusting from really almost any circumstance, and we'll call it an imbalance. Something's overactive, something's lacking and too weak, restoring that back to the normal level. This is what we mean by adaptogenic wellness. And adaptogens, they build stress resilience. How exactly do they do that? Let's talk about it. First of all, when we get stress resilience in time, we can start to feel it almost immediately, but it gets stronger over time if we continue to use adaptogens. They enable greater, one, efficiency in our natural healing and rejuvenating processes. Two, stamina and flexibility in energy production. What do we mean by flexibility? That means sometimes there's high demand, sometimes there's sort of a normal demand, and sometimes there's less. The ability for the body to modulate and meet those needs is energy flexibility, what we describe as energy flexibility and stamina. Then third, adaptogens provide this stress resilience, which is key for the protection against adverse long-term or chronic effects of our daily stressors, whether they be physical, environmental, or emotional. It doesn't matter. Those stressors have very similar impacts on both body and mind, and adaptogens are shown clinically to enhance resilience against those negative effects, even though we might be feeling the stressors. I find that and have always found that very compelling and amazing. And now 13 years down the road, rather than just feeling, wow, this is an important principle we need to learn, we can now say this is actually a true principle of adaptogenic nutrition that we have seen, we've been able to witness firsthand here at Solle. I love this chart by, I think, perhaps one of the most famous researchers. He has published over 200 articles in adjudicated journals about adaptogens. And this is really the focus of him and a group of scientists, but Alexander Panosian, you'll notice he's quoted quite a bit by Dr. Allison Caldwell-Andrews. He's got wonderful insights because it's been so many years he studied adaptogens. And I love this chart because he shows, look at what's shaded in green. Adaptogens work above the line of standard need or normal needs of the body, meaning that they're additive. They bring additional strength, additional energy that the body then uses until we provide more adaptogens. Whereas stimulants, which are so often looked for, I think, instead of adaptogens, because this education is not common. I wish it were. I wish every household could see this chart. A stimulant definitely brings that spike in activity and energy. It can lift mood. It can accelerate body processes like make our heart beat faster and give us that more instantaneous jolt of energy. But stimulants always include a trough, a period that dips below the normal needs. And those highs and lows, those peaks and troughs over time, it is our opinion, are what wear down body systems and our resilience and strength. They become stimulants, that is, in my opinion, they become over time a net negative to maintaining health, and they do make it more likely for us to acquire chronic and long-term problems and imbalances in health. Whereas adaptogens only work on the positive side and do not give us troughs. Such a key and telling chart. This is what Panosian says, and I love this summary of adaptogens. He calls them a new class of herbs because they're not commonly known. They are herbs that are metabolic regulators. Think of metabolic regulators as energy regulators, which increase the ability of an organism, us, you and me, to adapt to environmental factors to avoid damage from such factors. Now, Dr. Allison will add the words environmental or physical or emotional because all of those factors are stressors, and adaptogens work in all those scenarios as we have seen firsthand these last 13 years. Continuing with the research of Alexander Panosian, here's a publication in 2010, Panosian and Wickman, a summary of a few. There are many more clinical trials than these, but here are a few that demonstrate that adaptogens have anti-fatigue effects. They increase mental work capacity, even when you're already stressed, even when you're already tired. They give enhanced attention. They help us tolerate mental exhaustion. So I might be done, but I can still get through what I need to get through. This is, to me, one of the most amazing parts of adaptogens. We're still going to feel the stressors and sort of all the colors of life, but we have that resiliency to work through that in a productive way. Notice the second half of this slide. Adaptogens are demonstrated through clinical trials to have neuroprotective effects. They help protect the nervous system. They have activity that is antidepressive and anti-anxiety, meaning the body uses their nutrition to find that homeostasis and that balance again when we're in a state that is out of balance in this regard. Neuroprotective effects of adaptogens include also what are called neurotropic properties, enhancing memory, improving our ability to learn, improving cognition. All of this and much more. I think just if I saw this one slide and someone talked to me about adaptogens, I would be, okay, tell me a lot more about these plants. I love this little summary of adaptogens. Remember that to be a true adaptogen, an herb must also be non-toxic. Okay, why is that? There are some plants that are quite beneficial, but you can't not use very much of them because they can be toxic to the body. Solle does not work with any of these. We 100% work with plants that can be taken nutritionally in larger quantities when the need is there and over periods of time on a daily basis. This is why we center on adaptogens. They are non-toxic. You can increase them to the need at your current state. Number 2 on this slide, adaptogens produce a non-specific response. Well, what do we mean by that? I think number 3 kind of explains it. Well, they have a normalizing influence on the body, irrespective of the direction of change. So sometimes you're thinking of the body, I've got something just in hyperdrive. I cannot slow it down. Heartbeats too fast. My mind's racing. I have too much inflammation. I have an overactive state where the body is trying to manage something and I cannot slow it down. Or I'm lacking, I'm dragging, I don't have enough. It's foggy, my thinking. I feel like food sits in my stomach forever. I do not digest. The processes are not strong enough, energetic enough to do what needs to be done to have health. Adaptogens in general, regardless of whether it is too fast or too slow, too high or too low, they have a normalizing effect. Well, I think in just a second, we'll see how that happens. Yes, Kendall, please.
So I want to talk a little bit about this logo, this icon that we have here.
Yes, on this slide.
Yeah, this is our adaptogen icon, and it tries to speak to that balance,
normalizing.
Normalizing. When you look at that, which leaf do you see first, the white one or the green one?
Probably, I was going to say the white one, and then I saw the green one. I don't know which one. This time, the white one.
Yeah, and I think that's how your body is. Sometimes it'll need the lifting, and sometimes it'll need to bring you down. And adaptogens do that, and that's what we're trying to do with this icon.
So, Kendall, in this icon on our website, it's quite a bit on the website, right?
Yeah.
It's a little icon to give people a little heads up when it's on a page or buy an herb, that's an adaptogen.
Right. Yeah, we've tagged every adaptogen with this icon on the website so that as you're looking through that, you can say, oh, hey, this ingredient is an adaptogen.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Kendall. Okay, so let's jump now to beyond adaptogens in general and thank the researchers for all that wonderful information. That's the tip of the iceberg. There is so much research now with adaptogens. What do we do in our own unique systems for selecting adaptogens? Because over time, we have honed our own approach to what we will use in our formulas. These are our criteria, and we thought we would list them for you today. There are 5 criteria that we use. Number 1, they say safe for daily use. Why would I even put that since adaptogens have that by definition? Well, because you do have a lot of herbs that have adaptogenic properties. And some, you can use at any quantity, every single day. And others, maybe not so much, but they have some adaptogenic properties. And what do I mean by the properties? Well, these 5 properties here. So we use the herbs that you can use in any quantity. This is where we tend to center our focus because we want the ability for anyone using Solle Naturals products to be able to use enough in a situation, because it is true in life. There are times where you'll need to use more of any nutrition. Think of whatever my imbalance or my health challenge is, I need enough nutrition so that my body can say, I can do something about that. If I give it a little bit, it might help, but not be enough. So having adaptogens safe for daily use lets me have that option with Solle products. Number 2, they provide energy, but they're not an isolated stimulant. There are some adaptogens where people will grab one of the energy components, isolate it out from the plant, and just concentrate it up and make it more like a stimulant. We don't do that. We leave it with the constellation of other active compounds in that adaptogen so that the plant is holistic and can do all of its work in, we believe, a safer way. Number 3, we make sure that we use adaptogens that strengthen and modulate the immune system. What do we mean by that? Modulating is that balancing component. There are times when, I would say most of the time, our immunity is just weaker. Lots of studies show that stress, continued stress, results in a predominantly weak immune system. So most of us do need more strength in it. But there are times when the immune system can be overactive. In that case, adaptogens are the modulators. They don't further stimulate an overly stimulated immune system. That's an important part of a criteria we use for our adaptogens. Number 4, they contain beneficial compounds on both sides of imbalance. Now that one I'll tell you about with one of the examples. I've got 4 favorite adaptogens I'll share with you this evening, and that point number 4 will be illustrated in one of them. Number 5, our adaptogens provide significant mood-enhancing benefits. That will also be clear as we share with you some of these 4 favorites that I'd like to share tonight.
So there isn't actually a board or some group that determines what an adaptogen is.
No.
Which is why we have to, there's certainly several that are
sort of commonly
agreed upon.
Yeah.
And then there's some in the edges that some we believe that are and might be disputed by others, and that's why why we have this slide here in this criteria.
Yeah, absolutely. There is no you can do a lot of research, and online you can find lists of adaptogens, and there are a lot of them that are commonly, I think, esteemed. But you'll notice we have a couple of opinions based on our own experience in Solle that would be unique, that we totally consider it an adaptogen by this criteria here, and that you might not find on lists. I don't know, there are 50 or 60 of them that might be commonly seen that way. Undoubtedly, there are many more that have just not been studied or in that way, or perhaps discovered to the extent that that there would be this kind of examination. Okay, so here's a picture of a few key adaptogens. So remember, adaptogens generally provide energy and mood uplift, but they have unique benefits as well. So these 5 criteria we just mentioned, they're commonalities to all these adaptogens, but there are many other plant compounds. Call them a unique superpower of that particular plant. Knowing that answers the question, why would we use more than one adaptogen in a formula? Why would we combine them? Now here are 6 of my favorites. We're going to talk about a few of those tonight, but I wanted to show this slide because notice the color variation. One of the first lessons I was taught nearly 35 years ago, when I was fortunate enough to have a good friend pull me into this industry, which, by the way, I thought everybody was loony, and I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't know anything about it. They quickly, thankfully, I had an open enough mind to listen, because it didn't take very many months before it started to sink deeply the great benefits of plants and herbal nutrition. Much later came my exposure to adaptogens and their power combined with other herbs. But in this early period of my experience in the industry, I had a very knowledgeable naturopath tell me, Greg, if you want to improve your health, put a lot of color on your plate. And what she meant by that was a lot of color variation. The more variation you have, the more you'll improve your health, because these different colors have different compounds and different vital minerals, nutrients, other beneficial compounds that might not be as famous as like a particular vitamin, but are just as crucial to health. And so I've never forgotten that lesson. That criteria, along with the clinical studies and the science, was part of the selection of these particular 6 plants that you see on this slide are all part of our formula Adaptable, which, if you've listened to my wife Donna's story, was the first adaptogenic formula at Solle Naturals. And notice the variety and the variation in color of these plants, indicative of their many unique, let's say, superpowers that are combined with their commonalities of adaptogenic properties. Let's go through just 4 really quickly tonight I want to share. One of my very favorites to this day is Eleuthero, which for years and years was referred to as Siberian ginseng. It's actually a different species than ginseng, but it acts so much like ginseng, it got that nickname. Its name is actually Eleuthero. Notice these bullet points. These come from Dr. Allison Caldwell Andrews' studies that she has gleaned and used in her training. This is a summary of a few of them. One was showing that it increased stamina in the face of increased stress and demand. Still, stamina was increased. Eleuthero gained a quick reputation for increasing all kinds of body resistance, these protective qualities I talked about. I love this documentation. In the year 1593, Li Shizhen, I'm probably not saying his name, he's Chinese. I'm probably not saying it correctly, but he wrote quite a bit about Eleuthero. And he said long-term use makes one feel happy and vigorous. Now, let's just pause for a second. If I can just get 2 things in my health, and those 2 things are being happy and feeling vigorous, I'm good. That's sort of where I want to be with health. And that's what Li Shizhen says about Eleuthero. He's also quoted as saying, I would rather take a handful of Eleuthero than a cartload of gold and jewels. Well, that's true. That is the value of health. That's why I love so much the Solle Naturals business and the Solle Naturals community, because we focus on what is most valuable. Your jewels and your gold aren't much use if you don't have the health to enjoy them. That's right. So I love that quote as well. Here's some other studies about Eleuthero. Helps relieve angina and lowers LDL cholesterol, so the negative cholesterols. Relaxes arteries, so helping the body manage blood pressure. Strengthens the immune system in reduction of the incidence of colds when people are using it regularly. Increases endurance, speeds recovery, improves sleep quality, and helps prevent nighttime awakening. So you can see both stimulating aspects of Eleuthero and calming aspects. Again, one of the evidences of it as an adaptogen. Now, the second one, I mentioned point number 4 on our criteria for selecting adaptogens. This is illustrated here with Schizandra. I love Schizandra. We use the berry. I think it sort of has a nickname or a folk knowledge as 5 flavors, because it has every flavor in the berry, like sweet and salt and bitter, and I can't remember all 5 of them. They're all of them in the one berry. An awesome evidence to the variety of properties and the adaptogenic nature. And I think that's illustrated. Yes, it brings inflammation down and calms asthma in the lungs, protects the liver. There's some studies that show that. But look at point number 3 on this particular slide. The dual effect that is indicative of a true adaptogen. Stimulating mental activity and work performance, so physical performance as well, and at the same time it is calming, known to relieve heart palpitations and stress-induced asthma. There are people who can take Schizandra, and to them it's that perfect anti-anxiety calming. And others can take it, and finally I've got the energy to do what I want to do. That duality is illustrated in Schizandra. The third point, preventing stress-induced immune depletion. Constant stress almost always results in us, going through the day with really a lessened immunity, and Schizandra helps the body boost that back up. Emotional peace, one of the qualities of Schizandra. Traditional Chinese medicine often uses it as a hypnotic, so sleep-inducing, and as a sedative, so very calming, that side of its benefits. There's a 2011 study that Dr. Allison cites, an animal study where stress induced anxiety is lessened, and cortisol levels the body actually is able to lower them with the nutrition that comes from Schisandra. Here's a few more studies. 2006. I love that study because it showed enhanced mitochondrial antioxidants. So it's protecting those energy producing factories. The mitochondria produce the energy in the cells. Without energy, cells can't do what they have innate intelligence to do. So we protect that energy production, and we protect the cell's duty, the cell's abilities to do what it needs to do, and we get better health. Protecting against environmental, emotional, chemical stressors, all three of those, preserving that energy production at the cellular level. I love that. A 2008 review. So reviews, as Dr. Allison mentions, these are analyses of many studies, and then they're summarized. Numerous clinical trials, says the 2008 review, show psychiatric benefits with Schisandra. Alcoholism. I got to just tell you one quick testimonial. And Kendall, you'll remember this. I'm not going to share his name here, but one of our early Soul Brand specialists had shared one of the formulas that has Schisandra in it, and this individual, he was wanting to pull himself away from so much alcohol, so many prescription drugs that he was a little bit addicted and dependent on. And he was also felt like he was smoking too much. So he began using the Soul products, including the Schisandra. And I remember he was mad at us after several weeks because he said, okay, yeah, it's worked. And now he was drinking the Soul Vital and I believe using Adaptable, which you can see at the bottom of the screen. These adaptogens I'm sharing, it shows the product that they're in as well, just as a little key for you. And he was using enough to make a difference because he was drinking much less. I think he was trying to give up the alcohol, and I think he was trying to give up the drugs. And I think I'm talking about prescription drugs, and was able to do that. But he was angry because he said, look, I was giving these other two up. I wanted to at least be able to enjoy a cigarette once in a while. And he goes, I grabbed my cigarette and I didn't like it. It kind of, his body was kind of rejecting it. I remember he was a little bit, he was kind of joking with us, but he was a little bit irritated about that. One of the clinical evidences of Schisandra, it has to do with addictions of many different kinds. So I find that fascinating. And then the last point in this slide is in 1999, there was a study with athletes who showed increased stamina. And there are different measures of that. They all of them were benefit. Our third one now, wood betony. Now this is part of Vertizymes, which is a calming and a digestive enhancing formula that can make all the difference at every level, really, because digestion gets in the way of both physical and emotional wellness. Wood betony, I wished we knew wood betony here in the US, like for centuries it was known in Europe. I love this little summary. The Italians are said to have declared, sell your coat and buy wood betony. Now, you got Alps in Italy. It gets cold in a lot of Italy. Sell your coat and buy wood betony, they said. And the Spanish, there's an old saying in Spain, she has more virtues than wood betony, when they wanted to compliment a woman. So interesting to me that wood betony was commonly known and revered. It's a member of the mint family, long used for its calming effect on both mind and digestion. Anxiety, uneasiness, headaches, things that can be tied to digestion, calm with wood betony. In 2011, Martin Hughes said, you know something, heart palpitations. Wood betony is nutrition that your body can use to bring itself into a better place and not have that problem. Martin says 1 out of 7 people have this issue of heart palpitations. Phyllis Balk, who wrote Prescription for Nutritional Healing, says, wood betony helps modulate proper functioning of the heart and has historically been used with many different cardiovascular, we'll call them imbalances. Another 2011 report from Joe LeBlanc. Wood betony is actually antimicrobial, very useful if there's a bacterial infection. So I think of things like inner ear infections and whatever infection of the head. It doesn't have to just be in the head, but commonly used for all sorts of head maladies. In one study, they ranked a bunch of plants, and guess what? Wood betony came out as the strongest antibacterial. Interesting that immune enhancing property of this wonderful adaptogen, again, this is one that we consider to be an adaptogen, can make such a big difference. Gillian Painter, who wrote Materia Medica for the Southern Hemisphere, I can't remember, Gillian's based in Australia, New Zealand. Wood betony, says Gillian, is one of the few plants with a restorative effect on the nerves and nervous system. It is used for all matters of the nervous system and brain. And then finally, betony was once a sovereign remedy, and we're going back to Europe here, for all maladies of the head, and is still acknowledged for its nervine enhancing. So a nervine is any kind of a plant compound that strengthens the nervous system, either by calming it or by stimulating a weakened nervous system, either direction. And wood betony is one. Back in 1666, Medicina Britannica wrote, "I have known that the most obstinate headaches cured by daily breakfasting for a month to 6 weeks on a decoction of betony made with new milk and strained." Another interesting evidence from, what are we talking about, 400 years ago or so, almost, using wood betony. Now we come to the final of the 4 favorites that I want to share with you today, maca. I love maca. Grows in the highlands of the Andes in Peru. And maca's superpower, aside from all its other adaptogenic properties, is hormones. Does maca balance hormones? No, it does not. But your body does. Your body systems know how to do it. Maca has the nutrition they need that is often lacking or depleted because of lifestyle, environmental exposure, the long-term effects of stress, or some other cause of imbalance. So maca feeds the body. It's highly nutritional, mitigates the impacts of stress like any good adaptogen does, and has many other superpowers. What maca brings us into the conversation is this 5th criteria we use of being an adaptogen being a great benefit for mood regulation. Maca is dealing with the power of hormones to affect the way our moods are, and its ability to provide nutrients that the body can use to bring us back to homeostasis glandularly are its superpower. How does this happen? Well, Dr. Allison, this information comes from her. She reminds us that the hypothalamus, so a gland we've got here in our head, links the nervous system, our nerves, to our glands, to the endocrine system, and controls the pituitary gland, this other master gland that we have in our head. Well, what does this have to do with maca? Well, you should always remember the name Gloria Chacon. This is a researcher from the 60s that helped save maca because it was a traditional crop that was being forgotten. And she showed through her research that maca alkaloids, certain biological compounds that are beneficial to us, benefit the hypothalamus, and they affect its functioning and the pituitary's function. Scientists don't know all the ways in which it affects. Some of them, yes, we've learned. Not all of it is known. But what is known, they function better. There is more strength there. Therefore, our hormones are balanced appropriately by our own body, thanks to the nutrition of the maca. Some studies published here in 2004 show that maca brings that homeostasis in the hormones and in many other processes in the body. Stress-induced ulcers, elevated corticosterone levels, elevated blood glucose, or our blood sugar levels, the free fatty acids that happen because of stress, and the adrenal gland weight that comes because of prolonged stress. All of these have been part of studies that where maca is shown when its nutrition is part of that daily habit to help the body bring back into normal levels. And these are all very key levels for our general and overall health. So this leads us to the final part of the story. We've highlighted a few adaptogens, told you how we select adaptogens to be in our formulas. Hopefully we've illustrated a little bit about with these just 4. We've got 20 some odd adaptogens that we use in Solle, right, Kendall? I can't remember the exact number. It might be around 30. We use quite a number of them, but that's just part of the story. There is more to the story. How we use them is just as much of the difference maker we learned very early on as we began formulating. Point number one, we use herbs, including our adaptogens, at various levels of concentrations to have greater impact. Why do we do this? Because some plants, if you just use the powder, you would have to take so much of them to get the nutrition up to the levels that we're seeing a lack of in today's day and age, that the person wouldn't feel enough and they'd believe, oh, these herbs don't work. When in truth they would work if they took enough of them. So we concentrate them. Sometimes it's a full plant, 4 or 5 or 10 times concentrate. Sometimes it's part of the plant standardized to make sure a minimum level of important components are there along with the balance of the plant nutrients. And sometimes it's just a powder. We will often combine several of these types of concentrations to get the balance we're looking for with the particular objectives of the individual Solle formulas. So this use of varied therapeutic concentrations is a key in the Solle formulas and something that sets us apart from just purchasing an adaptogen, buying the powder somewhere. Number two, we do have expertise in combining them. This was something out of the gate we experimented with even from our very first formula. Donna's formula, I mentioned that we combined 6 adaptogens in the formula Adaptable. But those are not in the same concentration. Some come in greater concentrations than others because of the blend that we wanted to create in this mood balancing and what we call a mood enabling blend, dealing with a lot of different needs that we might have with emotional and mental health. So point number 2, yes, there's an art to that, like cooking. It's not all math. There is an art in combining the right plants in the right amounts. And some of that is only found through trial and error and that experimentation that has been part of the Solle journey. Point number 3, we pair adaptogens with other herbs. Sometimes people think, well, wow, these adaptogens are so amazing. Let's just put them in a bottle and use them and they'll solve everything. Well, they do a lot of good for sure. But there are other amazing herbs that are not adaptogens that work better when they're paired with an adaptogen. There are a lot of reasons for that. Some of those reasons are the unique properties of a particular adaptogen, like take maca, which is so hormone balancing and pairs very well with another leaf that's called perilla leaf, was it perilla in that one? I'm jumping to our omega product where we paired an adaptogen with perilla. Because it contains other concentrations that go well in essential fatty acids with the other essential fatty acids that are part of our adaptogen in Solle Megas. So sometimes they complement each other and give a broader variety that will make it more widely beneficial or beneficial to a wider group of individuals who might have different needs. But other times, the pairing of an herb with an adaptogen has everything to do with the fact that when the body is closer to a balanced and relaxed state, everything it tries to do, it can do better. When there is less inflammation, everything the body needs to do, it can do better. I'm talking about inflammation that's out of balance, an overabundance of inflammation. So adaptogens, which can do all those things, they provide that stress relief, that regularity of the general overall balance, both physical and emotional, so that other nutrition we give can actually do its job more efficiently because the body is actually working more efficiently. So that's a big one, point number 3. Now, points number 4 and 5, they're just part of the Solle story. And in case you're new and maybe listening to this for the first time, very often we will have customers see quicker results with Solle. I'm talking about people who maybe are very accustomed to taking herbs or vitamins or any type of nutritional supplement. They will find that this combination with adaptogens, we have them as part of every formula. There is not a formula that's sold that doesn't compare or pair an adaptogen with other herbs. And hence, we're not super surprised when people who are used to supplements say, wow, I started to know something immediately. And that doesn't mean it solves everything overnight. We all have our own journey. And depending on how severe our challenge might be, we're often looking at months and sometimes longer to meet all the needs we have. But we don't have to wait to start to see improvement. We can start to see improvement early on in the journey, and then things can improve as time progresses. And that's the secret of the soul formulations with adaptogens. And then point number 5 is another thing that we've heard a lot over the first 13 years. People will talk about the surprise benefits. I talked to so-and-so because this is what I was going through, and they mentioned soul, and we chose this product or these 2 products or these 3 products. And you know something? I noticed actually that this other thing got better. And I'll give you an example. We had someone that was really dealing with some challenges in feeling anxiety and depression a lot, and listened to Donna's story and began using Adaptable. Well, this was a man, and men don't usually talk as openly about that, but he early on began using it, and before he really understood the benefit of using more of the Soul line, he was just using one product. And he called me about 3 days later and he said, "What is in Adaptable that's making me sleep better? Because the first thing I've noticed is I'm sleeping longer, and I've done that all 3 nights." So this wasn't why he chose the product. This was something different than what he was looking at. But it's a benefit of an adaptogen. His body was not getting enough sleep. It needed more sleep. With the nutrition of the adaptogens coming in, the body felt like it was able to now give him that sleep because it could manage these processes, allowing that better than prior. So point number 5 is a big one. It is what puts an extra smile on our face that someone, and I think it's an evidence of a really good herbal formula when people can get those surprise benefits. Okay, now that concludes the presentation on adaptogens. I'd like to summarize with some more wisdom from Dr. Allison Caldwell Andrews. This was part of one of her trainings, and I love this. She basically said, this is the message everyone needs to hear. Your body can heal if you give it what it needs. I don't know what you're dealing with. You might have been dealing with it for many years. It might be something that's relatively new. There are all sorts of things going on with the body. If it gets what it needs, it can heal. And here are 3 principles that Dr. Allison said, if you'll address these 3 things, you can find that healing. The first is find hope. That is why adaptogens are at the center. I think if you think back on our discussion tonight, there is a nutritional component that is vital to feeling hope and finding hope. So adaptogens, they do play a role in that, but they do not play the biggest role at Soul. The reason Solle Naturals is organized as a company of specialists, of brand specialists, is because the Soul community is where you find hope. It takes an individual to share this information, or to share a link, or to connect you with someone who's been through it, or to record what they've gone through, send it in so that we can share their video with you. The community is where the power lies. And that first principle of Dr. Allison's finding hope, we strive to create a community and to build upon a community where that can happen for you. If you're listening to this for the first time, the Soul community is a place where you can find that hope. That we can assure you. And it is a place you can give that hope to someone else. And it is why we are organized the way we are. The second principle, boost your energy with adaptogens. They're special metabolic regulators that provide stress resiliency and all the benefits that come from it. Adaptogens are for everyone, of all ages, of all situations, and they have a commonality of boosting natural energy. Those are found in the Soul products. So point number 1, find hope in the Soul community. And point number 2, boost your energy with adaptogens through the Soul products. They go hand in hand. They are stronger together Their synergy is in their togetherness. The third point that we cannot forget, we have to decide we want to change our health. We want to change how we feel. We have to start making lifestyle changes. Dr. Allison often says this. The lifestyle decisions we make can be a tsunami that can kind of overwhelm even the other good. We have a supportive community and we have these great products that can make a difference. The lifestyle changes, though, they are easier. They're easier with the Soul community, and they're easier with adaptogens. We can get strength for that. So I love this counsel from Dr. Allison, and I'll leave you this portion of the presentation tonight with her wisdom. Your body can heal if you give it what it needs. Find hope. Boost your energy with adaptogens. Start making lifestyle changes. You will have success. It's just a matter of how soon and how much. That's an individual thing, but you will have it. And that I can promise you. Now, Kendall, as we wrap up tonight, I'd like to jump onto, we've got one more slide coming here in just a second here. I'd like to jump into an easy way that we've just introduced, I guess, about a month ago. And we're celebrating it in this anniversary month of a way to share adaptogens with anyone in an easy way. And I don't know would you like to take them through a little bit of what I'm talking about here?
So what I'm talking about is the sample pack, which is this fantastic little pack that would show up on your doorstep with our most sought after beverages, our drinks. We've got Soul Vital, Soul Excel, Soul Renew, Cinemate, Soul Royal, Soul Complete in the two different flavors of Double Dutch Cocoa and Natural Vanilla Creme. So it has a very wide range of different drinks and tastes. It is only $14.95 for the lot of them, and if it's your first order, then the shipping is free. So really good deal. But better than that, you get inside the bag, you get a $15 off of your next order. So essentially, it's free. Because you can use that on your next order, and you decide which product you like the best, or which 7 you like the best, and try those on your next order, or get a full package of those. What's kind of fun about it is there is 15 adaptogens, different unique adaptogens in this group of products. Some of them share some adaptogens between them. And it comes with a little card that has QR codes on it as well that you can scan and learn a little bit more about each of the products.
And Kendall, sorry to jump in here, but you mentioned the 15 adaptogens. One thing I love about that is with these 7 drinks, you can taste and see what your body responds to. The unique thing about having different adaptogens is that we're all a little different, and a person can drink one drink and go, for some reason, I just wanted another one of those. The body doesn't make mistakes. It knows what it needs. Now, I'll say the caveat is when it's something that's healthy, known healthy for it. These are all known healthy drinks, all plant-based, no sugars, no added anything, nothing synthetic. So whatever that your body responds to, there's a reason. And I love that you got 7 chances in the sample pack.
And various different flavors and responses that you might have. So I love that. So it's a fantastic thing to share with everybody you know, and it's an easy way. It's a small price point, and essentially it's free.
Okay, so we've got this wonderful sample pack. You can do this anytime, but it is our 20th our 13th. Whoa. I'm getting ahead of ourselves here. Our 13th anniversary month, all the month of June. So with Why Soul Works and our discussion today on adaptogens and how wonderful they can be in our health and wellness, we thought we'd have a fun little one-day challenge for tomorrow. Okay, we're calling it our 13th anniversary Why Soul Works one-day challenge where you share adaptogens. So we're coming back to what Kendall just talked to us about, the sample pack. That is designed so that it's accessible to anyone. And the deal, as Kendall said, it's really a no-risk all reward proposition for people. So we're going to do a 1-day challenge. It's tomorrow. So here's the challenge that we have for you tonight. Kendall and I have for you tonight. Think of someone that you want to open the door for into adaptogenic wellness in their life. Somebody that maybe has been on your mind, or maybe they're not on your mind. Just think about it tonight. Somebody who you can start on that pathway and do it tomorrow. For every person that orders a sample pack tomorrow, June 18th, for the first time. So this is someone who's never ordered anything from Solle. If they do it tomorrow, we're going to give you, the mentor, anyone listening tonight who's already in Solle, we're going to put 13 Solle rewards. We're just going to pop them in your account. And there's no limit on that because some of you might have a few friends that you want to share these with. You can have fun. It's just a 1-day thing. We're just going to do it for tomorrow. Kendall, anything you'd like to add about that challenge?
Well, I want to make it a little bit better.
Okay.
I want anybody who is on the stream tonight, if you think that you are going to do this, chat in.
If you're going to share it with somebody
if you're
else?
going to share it with somebody else.
Okay.
Chat in, share. That's all you need to write is share. And we will check on Thursday. If you're on the list and you wrote in share and you did it, then we will put you in a drawing. And what you will receive, the winner of the drawing will receive this tumbler. It says, "Be kind to your mind," and it's an insulated tumbler with a straw. Very, very popular. There's a popular brand that has one just like that out there, and we'll draw that on Thursday, and then we'll ship that out to you.
Ooh, so Kendall, I'm seeing a lot of good shares on there.
Yeah.
Well done, you all. Now, every one you share with, you're going to get the 13 rewards. So I was just doing some math in my head.
Yeah.
If I share it with 3 people, that's pretty much, what does that get me? Like $40. That's like a product and a half. So I can get some free. Everybody, of course, will be getting the rewards, but we want to have some fun and do a drawing. Plus, it will be kind of fun. We want to kind of track them, and let's just see. I don't know. We'll see if we can look at who shares the most, and I don't know. We might do something. Whoever writes share on here and has the most tomorrow on adaptogen on Share Adaptogen Day in Solle, we'll do something. Look at Kristen Brune, just share. I like that, Kristen. Yeah, we'll do something. We'll have some fun with that. But I got a feeling you got more than that, Kendall.
I got a little bit more.
He's got more. Okay, let's hear some more.
If you're joining us for the first time, you're listening to this the first time, and you're on the stream, and you're going to say, if you're thinking, I want to try that, text in try, and we'll do the same. If you have tried it for the first time, on Thursday, we will do another drawing, and you will get another one of these tumblers for you.
Okay.
So
first timers on here now. That's interesting. I wonder if we're going to have any first timers put try. Can members share too? Let's see here. I'm trying to think.
I don't know how we would track that.
Share. Kristen, if you have a member who wants to share, we'll work it out.
Yeah.
Tell us, and you can tell
let
us who
us
they
know.
are, and we'll work it out for them. We'll put them in there.
If they're on here and they say share,
Yeah.
and then they do it, yes, we'll put them in there.
And look at Hugh. Share, and share again.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So I realize most people, what they do is they'll take the link, and then send the recording. Now, if you do that, if you send it to someone new and you send the recording, they're not going to be able to put try on here. You're going to have to figure out a way to get the word try, but you have to tell them. If they send try to here at any of the Solle emails, I guess we could do it that way. Someone new who listens to this recording tonight or tomorrow, and they try the sample pack for their first time, they write it in. We'll do a drawing there too.
Yep. Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a
couple more things.
2 more announcements before we finish up tonight. Okay, first of all, let me turn it back to Kendall because we're going to be live streaming here again in about, was it 3 weeks?
Yes.
3 weeks, Kendall.
Yeah. So we're going to have another showcase. We've had 3 showcases and have loved every one of them. We have had people sharing their stories, sharing their life-changing stories of soul, and just have loved them. So we've decided to do another one. On July 8th, we're going to do another one. We're going to have 3 more guests that will share their soul stories. We'll get to hear that from them and be inspired and feel part of their lives, and they can share their energy with us, and it'll be great.
I love that. You don't want to miss that. So July 8th. And then finally, if you'd like to get reminders of when that showcase comes and other important announcements, Kendall, tell them what you want them to do.
So you need to sign up for the Soul General text group, and you do that by texting SOUL to 833-205-3371. And then if you want to just also receive specific reminders of events, which are live streams and live events and any kind of event we do, then also type in events to that same number. Now, if you
so they can do both. I can text in soul and I'll get all the texts, and then after I do that, I text in events to the same number, and I'll make sure I get events.
But you got to do soul first.
But first, I need to do soul.
If you just do events, that doesn't put you into that list. You have to go into the soul one first, and then do the events. But if you don't want to do the text, and you just want to be reminded of these events on YouTube, you can subscribe to our channel and then hit the bell icon, and then YouTube will, every time we have a live stream set up, it will send you a text that it notifies you of these events. So
excellent. Make sure you do that. You'll want to know. We don't overuse that. It's always good stuff. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on this 13th anniversary Why Soul Works and the deep dive into adaptogens. I want to thank Kendall Bird for joining me, and we will see you at the next live stream.